Train the muscles, not the joints. So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about ego lifting versus strategic lifting. Now, every once in a while I get somebody that comes to the channel, and usually they're new, because they don't really know what the content is about, or they don't know me, and they just assume that if they see some sort of lifting of some sort, especially if it's heavyweight, but it's not like I'm not touching the chest with bench press or I'm not squatting off my heels, they automatically assume the reason why I'm lifting the weight is because of some sort of ego problem, like I'm trying to impress somebody or something, okay?
有啊，多年是这吗？多年是啊。
So the first thing I want to talk to you about, and if you're new here, everything I'm doing is really about strategy, about me hitting a certain muscle group and overloading that. So obviously, like say you squat ass to the grass and you put your butt on your heels, and this is assuming you're built for it, okay? I don't like grass in the ass. Obviously you can lift less weight doing that than say maybe a 90-degree or parallel squat. Right? Now, why this is relevant is that sometimes there are certain muscles that are overloaded through certain ranges of motion. So for instance, say you could lift 400 pounds at a 90-degree squat and only about 250 pounds at an ass to the grass squat. Well, there are certain muscles that are not getting hit in the ass to the grass squat, okay? Some muscles are getting overloaded, some are not getting overloaded. And with the 90-degree squat, because you can use more weight, you're gonna be overloading different muscle groups, right? So basically what I'm doing is that I'm doing different ranges of motion and different movements depending on what I want to hit. That's really what true bodybuilding is. Now, do I believe that sometimes, certain ranges of motion are counterproductive? Yes, I do. Some ranges of motion for each person actually just lead to injury, lead to chronic problems or chronic overuse injuries or inflammation, and there's really no point. But this is different for each individual, okay? So what I want to stress to you is that ego lifting is much different than strategic lifting. There are some people that just put a lot of weight on the bar with no strategy, no safety in mind, no proper technique in mind. They're not in control of the weight at all. They're just lifting just to see if they can lift it. And yeah, a lot of times accidents happen from this. That's really what ego lifting is. Ego lifting is about impressing somebody else, okay? So what I'm trying to do here on this channel isn't anything to do with impressing people or, proving yourself to someone or any sort of ego crap, okay? What I'm trying to do is basically get you to discard the audience that's in your life, the audience that's in the world, and say, okay, what would you do if nobody was watching? And what is the most effective way for you to gain muscle mass, gain strength, and take care of your health and your body in the process, okay? What's the best way of you achieving that? And it's funny, you get pretty creative when you start to realize that you don't have to please an audience. When you're not looking around and saying, okay, who's impressed by what I did or who isn't? So the last thing I want to do is encourage ego lifting. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm really doing is encouraging the opposite in many cases, because a lot of times you're experimenting with something, somebody's saying, what are you doing? You're such an idiot for trying that technique out or trying that range of motion out or trying this type of exercise out. But what I'm trying to do is basically open you up to the experiment that is you and your body and what works for that, okay? So this is strategic lifting. You're finding out what are the tools and what are the techniques I can use in order to gain more muscle. Who gives a shit what everybody else says about how it should be done? How is it really done? That's the question. How is it really done? Because for you, it might be subtly different than somebody else. And I always talk about this, and you guys are probably bored to death from hearing this message, but the fact is that somebody will always misinterpret this. Somebody will misinterpret, say you load the weight up on the bar and you're like, okay, everything feels safe, it feels good, I'm under a controlled circumstance, I'm not doing heavy all the time just for the sake of doing heavy, but I'm trying a heavy lift today under this range of motion because it feels like it's going to stimulate some sort of muscle growth that I haven't been able to stimulate with the high reps, and with the longer ranges of motion I'm going to try this today. That is something I am encouraging under safe circumstances. I am encouraging you to try things out and see if they work, okay? But this has nothing to do with ego lifting, okay? So another thing I want to say is stop comparing yourself to other people. I know in the world today that we live in, the society's based on comparing. How much money do you make per year? How much money does this person make per year? How much education do you have? What's your car like? And do you have a relationship or do you not? All these types of things. But if you really want to be a true innovator, You have to discard that game of comparing. Don't worry about being insecure, especially on this channel. You know, like I'm not judging any of you if you're strong or if you're weak or if you're out of shape or in shape. I don't care. You know, all I'm doing is encouraging you to actually have a relationship with this game called bodybuilding, but it has nothing to do with me comparing myself to you or you comparing yourself to somebody else about how you might be insignificant or significant based on what kind of results you're getting from your training, okay? So if you're coming on here and you're starting fights with people and stuff, you know that you're just misinterpreting what the message is here. It's not because this channel is encouraging ego type of lifting or growing a big ego based on how much you can bicep curl by swinging like crazy or something like that, okay? So one thing I found that really helps with training and really helps with increasing your bodybuilding progress or progress in anything is when you just stop comparing, discard the audience, discard the people around you as far as caring about what they think, and really find out for yourself what is working for you. And then don't become a fanatic about it. Okay, that's another important thing. Don't become a fanatic about it because what works for you might not work for somebody else. And it's up to them to also find their way, you see? This is a tremendous help in the bodybuilding path because when you're lifting weights, if you're not paying attention to what's working for you, a lot of times you will snap yourself. You'll see somebody else that's got different genetics, different circumstances doing something, and then you're like, oh, I should be able to do that. And then even though your body's giving you warning signs about not doing what they're doing, you do it anyway, and then you snap something, okay? So this is an original message that I'm giving that nobody else is gonna give you because they don't know it. Okay, but I've been in this game for a long time and I even grew up around it. Since the time I was 4 years old, I was running around a gym because my dad was a powerlifter. This is a very important message for those of you who are ready to hear it, to take into account in your training and in your evolution, okay? Evolution as a physical being, an athlete, or a spiritual being, whatever way you want to put it. But the fact is that when you are paying attention to yourself, not comparing, not trying to be something that you're not, and stop getting wrapped up in these ego games about getting mad at somebody else because they're doing something you can't do, okay? That's another thing. That's another game that will actually sap your energy towards working on you, is that you'll look at somebody else and what they're doing and you'll say, I can't do that, so I'm gonna get mad at them because I can't do that, or I don't think that technique is relevant for me, so I'm gonna get mad at them. This is all a waste of your energy. This will prevent you from achieving your goals because you're using your energy just to attack things that don't matter. Okay? Let other people do what they do in their training and find out if that's working for them, and then you do what you do, you know? As they say, you know, you do you. That's it. You don't have to worry about everybody else, right? So I'm here to help empower you into discovering you, what that is and what your training should be for you, okay? So this has nothing to do with ego. So if you are mixed up with that, at least this video might clear it up for you. And thanks a lot for watching, and make sure you share my stuff, okay? Share my stuff. Why don't you share my stuff? You don't like my stuff? Okay, fine. If you don't like my stuff, don't share my stuff. But if you like my stuff, share my stuff. Okay, don't share my stuff. It's fine. Whatever. Thanks for watching. Take care for now.